Hello and thanks for tuning in to my talk at this year's Tableau Fringe Festival. Agile Business Intelligence. These three words were jargon to me a year ago when I joined the Information Lab, but now I feel like I know and understand what they mean, but also the space they sit in and the context behind it. And further, I understand why Tableau themselves have it as a key part of their Tableau Drive methodology. This event is hosted by champions of a community of data practitioners, data lovers, data geeks. And in this industry, it brings together folk who have a unique opportunity to work in a space which arguably utilizes both the left side and the right side of your brain, the logical side and the creative side, science and art, data and visualization. And based on this amazing space, iteration is a concept which lends itself to both to the data side and the visualization side. And I'd like to explore this concept with you guys today. So, what do I even mean by iteration? Merriam-Webster defines it like this, but when I think of iteration, I think of two things. First, I get a cold sweat as I remember not being able to comprehend fixed point iteration as a mathematical concept when I was 17. And second, I now think of agile development techniques, and this is a part of what I'm going to focus on today. Let's take a quick step back and look at the whole design process. Even when I was researching and thinking about ideas for this talk, I was constantly iterating and developing and changing what I wanted to do and how I could share this back to the community. The research was fun and I came across a whole host of theory in this area, including this one. So the design process, in some cases, can be split into 5 phases, if you like. The first is discovery. And within this, the idea is, you have a challenge. How do you approach it? How can you understand and discover more about the data and the problem? Following this, you get interpretation. Now you've explored and discovered the data or the problem, you've learned something. How do you now interpret what we've learned? How do you refine the concept? And finally, we get the third part, ideation. And this is the start of the iterative process. You have an idea or see an opportunity. What do I create? What's the best way to show this? And this is where I love Andy Kriebel's crayon concept. Taking a crayon or pen and paper and just sketching out ideas and options to get the creative juices flowing and thinking like a designer, thinking exactly what you want to show, exactly how this ties in with the discovery and interpretation parts. And then you can experiment. Now that you've got the idea and explored the idea, you can think, how do I build this? How can I make this dream into a reality? And then finally you get to the evolution stage. This is where you get feedback and you sort of take what you tried and think, okay, I've got this now. How do I build on it? How do I evolve it? How can you make it better? And I really think that steps 3, 4, and 5 here really lend themselves to the iterative process. Having the idea, trying it out, taking a step back, and developing on it. And Tableau allows us to make this process so fast, you forget that it's happening. You forget that in your head you're going through this exact same process really quickly. I also like this 6-stage list, which really I think is a struggle that we've all had when building a visualization. The inspiration part followed by reality hitting, the crushing desperation when you can't exactly create what you've had in your head, when you feel that you can't do it and you're blaming your own skills for not being able to do it, but then carrying on, iterating, powering through, trying different things, and it really helps bring all of this process together. And the best part is at the end, number 6, that was awesome, because looking back at the process and reflecting on this journey you went on is truly awesome. I mean, the design process is never so simple. It's never a straight line. It very much is visualized like this. There's a smoothish start and a smoothish end, and the magic really happens in the messy scribbles, which can get really, really messy. But if we focus on this scribble, then we can see that the ebbs and flows of the project, and drilling into this process, we can see this chart, which visualizes the confidence within the creative process from idea to launch. But within this process, I'd like to focus on this part specifically, which is where iteration really happens. So let's talk about Tableau. And I really think that Tableau aids and supports the iterative process. I'm going to talk through and demonstrate 3 of the examples that I think that Tableau really helps with. First is fast prototyping. So being able to fail fast and recover quickly is a really key feature of Tableau, and particularly when trying different things at the experimentation stage that we looked at before. And for me, this is where we get to my favorite concept, the Tableau shuffle. So shout out to Craig Bloodworth for coining that phrase. So when Andy Cockery visited the data school, we got a sneak peek of his Tableau Conference 15 talk about visualizing time. And within that, one example that really spoke to me was the Batman chart. Not simply for its awesome name, but for the Tableau shuffle concept. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's open up Trusty Superstore and let's bring in sales. Let's put that on rows, and let's bring in date. So naturally we look at date in this sort of field, and we know that Tableau uses hierarchies to allow us to drill in and drill out. But the Tableau shuffle occurs when you sort of think, well, what happens if I move year to the right? Okay, so now I can see the sort of yearly trends per month. So instead of looking at seasonality at the year level, well, now you're looking at months at the year level, and being able to say, okay, let's see what this looks like as a circle chart, as a dot plot. Maybe we can try lollipops and do a dual axis bar. Let's bring that in, synchronize, make the second one a little bar, make it a little bit smaller. Oh no, we're looking at the circle here. So let's make the bar a bit smaller. Oops, back in the circle. There we go. So maybe we can look at a lollipop chart. Maybe we don't want to look at a dual axis. Maybe we want to create the Batman chart that Andy was talking about. And then we bring in the reference lines to finish it off. And being able to iterate and sort of create these different views and failing, as I did there, failing and recovering really quickly, is a really key part of Tableau, and really helps to hammer home the part that you are able to quickly iterate and try different things. Say for instance, I wanted to see that if profit on color made a difference here. Well, not really, because it's taking everything at the year level, and maybe we can see that July is especially not that great compared to other years, but it's not telling me much. I can just take it off. So let's move on to the next part. So simple formatting. So this is where I can think about making everything look right. That's what formatting really is. It's having a homogeneous theme across your dashboards. And in Tableau 10, of course, this is going to be so much easier with global formatting. And it covers formatting as a concept covers such a huge spectrum, from fonts to color to customizing your tooltips. And the ability to format the dashboard itself is also really great. Adding annotations, moving things around to see what they look like. But my personal favorite is being able to duplicate a sheet. So for instance, if I've published this visualization on Tableau Public, now I want to see if it looks a bit different. What happens if I change a couple of things? So just right click and duplicate this dashboard. Now I can be safe in the knowledge that that dashboard that I created is still there. It's still in its perfect state that I really want it to be in. But now I can look at this one and start iterating through and saying, okay, what happens if we hop out, we move Djokovic over here, and maybe move this up here, maybe make Djokovic a bit smaller. Okay, that doesn't look as great. Let's just use the unlimited undo, which again is a great feature. Let's how about moving this chart up here, and then this one, scroll down a bit along the bottom. Okay, so let's make this a bit bigger. Hey, this looks a bit better. I feel like I'm using my space more efficiently. Let's move Novak over here and put this over here, because save a bit of space, maybe make this smaller. Grand Slam career. And this is exactly what I did. With this dashboard, I went through this exact same process on the train the day after I made it. So this is my Monday morning edit. So if you recall, go back to the original. So I have the table over here, the picture and the line chart on the bottom right. But we look at my Monday morning, I've allowed the table to take up more space at the bottom. I've added some row banding so you can differentiate between the years. And I've moved the line chart to the top. And this saves a lot of space. It still tells the same story, but being able to quickly try things and try different things and sort of iterate through really helped me to get to this stage. And finally, Tableau champions inventiveness. Iterations breed crazy charts, and the Tableau community is amazing as it brings together, people from a whole host of backgrounds. I'm talking about mathematicians, sports scientists, artists, accountants, computer scientists. And this means that they get the opportunity to quickly and easily create some impressive charts, purely due to the intuitiveness of the Tableau interface and the way that it champions and allows you to try different things. And most of these come through experimentation and iteration. So let's talk about the sandwich chart. So I semi-follow NBA. I wouldn't say that I'm a hardcore fan, but I love sports data overall, as many of you may be aware. And I particularly love Peter Bishai's buckets viz. So this is an excerpt of his dashboard. And this looks at the shot worm. And this shot worm was one of my favorite concepts. And it shows the distance from the basket from left to right. It's sized on the shot frequency and colored by the shot success field goal percentage versus the league average field goal percentage from that position. And one morning I was like, well, I'd like to recreate this in Tableau. I'd like to see if I can do something very similar. And I remembered that on one of the Makeover Mondays, I had some NBA data. So I got into the office and I then created the Soundwave chart and sort of played around a bit, and that's what I'm going to show you today. So if we hop down to the NBA data, so we have distance from the basket. So let's put that on rows, no columns. So we have it along the x-axis, and we want the number of records, showing the number of shots he took, and then I want the inverse number of records. So let's hold down Control, bring it across, and let's double click and just say, give me the negative. Perfect. So this is exactly what I wanted. So I then thought, this is great. I'm going to change this to an area chart, and I was kind of underwhelmed. Like, it doesn't look as ornate. There's no curves in here. So I thought about doing a dual axis. Before remembering that I can't actually dual axis things, which got me thinking, maybe if I use measure names. So if I clear this and actually create the inverse number of records here, so inverse number of records, and we'll say sum minus number. Okay, and I'm going to select this one, hold down Control, select this one, bring in my distance to bucket, select them again, and I'm just going to hover over to bring in the show me, so that we get both of these in the measure value shelf. I'm just going to move this here and this one over here. Fantastic, but now the added benefit is I can now move this across and dual axis my dual axis effectively. So I got thinking, right, brilliant, I can now do my area chart, and okay, I can't, the biggest thing for me was I wasn't able to create the curved charts as we saw before in the James Harden visualization. So I really wanted to get these air curves in. So I thought, okay, let's try something different. And I effectively created another lollipop chart. So we'll have circles on top, and then the bar on the bottom. Let's make the bar a bit smaller. Oh, always remember to synchronize your axis. Maybe we need to swap these around. There we go. Make circles slightly smaller. It's always a delicate art, sizing marks. There we go, let's fix that on there. Save it. That'll do. Okay. And then, because going back to the formatting side, I got rid of the 0 lines, hid my axes, And I thought, hey, let's look at how frequently that Steph Curry shoots. So let's put net run records on color, but let's do it on both of them. Amazing. And the sound wave chart was born, just like that. So once I'd created the sound wave chart, I posted an image on Twitter to get some feedback and thoughts on from the community. And given the positive response, I set about trying to actually develop a dashboard to give it some more meaning. So I went online and looked for some NBA data and set about building a proper use case for how I felt that the sound wave chart could be used in the wild. This example is actually one of the only times I've got actual screenshots or images of work in progress. And the reason for this is while I was building this on the train on the way to work, I was actually getting some feedback from my colleague and NBA fan, Carl Alchin. And bouncing ideas off Carl really hit home how important peer review was for development. So while we're iterating alone, we sort of get stuck into the ideas of things that we think are right or dispositions and cognitive biases that we have. However, bouncing ideas off someone else gives a bit more perspective. And in this, I was trying to not only tap into Carl's talents in data visualization, but also his knowledge about basketball. What are the key metrics to use? How best is it to display this data? Is this an interesting story to tell? And perhaps most importantly, it helped me alleviate some of the doubts. And I feel like doubt is a really crucial part of the creative process, but having someone to reassure you or offer a different option or different idea is really useful when you're sort of getting into the final stages of development. Unfortunately, as beautiful as iteration is and the art of iteration is, sometimes it's easy to get lost in the data, and this is unfortunately a reality of any project. So when you're dragging and dropping and iterating, trying different things, it's firstly easy to lose the message. And given that a message is the spine of a good data visualization, it's important not to lose focus on the story you're trying to tell, the key message you're trying to get, and the best way to tell that story. Secondly, knowing when to stop iterating is also very crucial. Knowing when to take intervals of presenting it back to someone and saying, how can we develop this? How can we move this forward? Rather than being stuck in a cycle of, I know I can do this better. I know that this can be changed in a different way. So let's have a look at this data set, for instance. So this is football data looking at the 2014-15 championship, so that's second tier English football, and it's event on the ball event data that I've collected at the player level. So if we double click measure names and bring in each player and the team they play for, we can see really quickly that there are 16,400 different marks on this table alone. And if we scroll, we can see that because there's so much data, this is one of those data sets that you just want to get stuck into, just play with. And I've often found myself doing that. But the problem with doing that sort of thing is I was often just aimlessly dragging, dropping, creating scatter plots, bar charts, looking at different trends. And while this is great for data exploration, when you're looking to meet a project deadline or meet a goal, it's not the greatest approach to take. This is where project management really comes in, and you have to set yourself deadlines and say, I'm only going to iterate to this point and then I'm going to present back. And that's where agile business intelligence comes in. So being able to say, I'm going to go up to this point, then I'm going to present it back, and we're going to just keep on developing rather than aimlessly saying, well, I'm going to keep trying to make this better because I know I can, because I've got all this massive tool set in front of me and all this data to play with. So I also promised that I would add in a bit of a challenge in this talk. So knowing the product is really important, and in order to be the most efficient you can be, testing your own skills is a good way to go. So to all of you watching, I challenge you. So this is the pause button. It stops your data from being visualized on the fly, so the VisQL that's sitting behind Tableau, and it's mainly there to stop loading time for big data sets. So when we're connecting to, say, a massive server or a big database that's bringing in all the rows, it saves you time, so you can just bring your data in, change something, and then let it pull the data in again. But I found a different use case for it. So if I press pause now and say I want to look at the goals scored by each team. So I'll bring on team onto columns, and then let's see if I find goals. Let's say goal contribution per 90, and then press play. I'll get visualized, my data visualized. Now, if I really want to challenge myself, I could say, right, let's do that again. Let's pause it, bring in team, bring in key passes, and I want to sort by the average number of minutes. So I need to find the minutes. So minutes, and then we go to average, and we want that descending. Okay, let's press play, and hopefully this will work. Okay, oh, and I actually need to put the minutes field in, so let's put that on color. And we did average minutes. Excellent, so that seems to be working. So this is a really cool trick to sort of challenge yourself and test how well you knew the product, but also help you start thinking about what's going to happen when I pick this pill up and drag it in. What will happen if I change it to an attribute, an average? What happens if I'm using the aggregated field versus disaggregated? And when you're in meetings or explaining concepts to someone or explaining why something doesn't work and sharing your knowledge, I feel like this stage of sort of sharing the iterative process is really useful. So finally, I'd like to leave you with this message. To improve is to change, and to perfect is to change often. And don't forget, you only need to actually build it once, but you can make it better as many times as you need. Thank you for listening.